welcome to Presence Dialogues, and my name is Joe Diamo. A Presence Dialogue is an approach to communication in which participants tune into a frequency of consciousness, a quality of listening beyond the personal level, with the accent on the novelty of the present moment. We tap into a field in which we are at best conduits for the deeper intuitive intelligence of the heart. And my guest today, I'm happy to say, is Stevie Ray. And Stevie Ray, just a little bio here, and then we'll get into it more as we talk. Stevie Ray McHugh is a psychotherapist, corporate change manager, consultant, small business coach, and psychic who has helped countless individuals make their dreams a reality. For more information on his emerging work, visit www.stevieRayMcHugh.com. Hi, Stevie.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Feels good.
Okay.
I'm feeling good.
Well, I've been looking forward to this.
Me too.
And so I would love to, maybe if you would give just a thumbnail to people who aren't familiar with you at all about your spiritual awakening and your spiritual experiences, and then we can go from there.
Sure. The short version.
Short version.
I had spent many years early on as a meditator. I grew up as a Catholic, became a Hindu, then a Buddhist. And then 9 years ago, had a huge awakening download, if you will, where I began really this ongoing conversations with my guides and with Aion, this energy that is coming through with incredible ancient wisdom and humor. And from there, it's the story of my resistance to that first. Like, hey, you got the wrong guy. I like beer and football. And the answer is like, whoa, Stevie Ray, listen to you. Who's talking now, right? Like, oh, right, that's my judgmental father. And so the healing begins for self-acceptance and the opening to an identity that's larger than our ego mind.
Say more about what that means to you, what your experience of that might be, the experience of opening up to an identity larger than yourself.
So guidance from spirit, the unseen world, becoming clearer and clearer as the sixth sense opens and blossoms, such that we become much more intuitive and in alignment with our guidance. And this fuels awakening into higher frequencies of consciousness, becoming, I'm going to say, at least a little more detached from my egoic identifications and my preferences, and slowly re-identifying with these larger energies and experiences of spirit, such that those become the new you, and the old you shifts and changes. So there's constant spiraling in the evolution of consciousness.
So is it experienced as a going back and forth between a wider identity and then an ego identity? But when the ego identity comes in, at times you're also in an expanded state relative to the ego identity?
Yes, it's, I call it oscillation, spiritual creative oscillation. We are where we are in any instant in the present. And the only way we can be there is to be here. Which means the ego is not my enemy, nor is it me. Then who am I? Then it's this more of allowing this energy of vibration into my field, right? My etheric and energetic subtle body and be able to hold that energy, which elevates my perception. So I get to, you might say, spike into a higher perception and hold it, and then oscillate out, drop out, and without shame or blame, reconnect, build energy, rise up. And so there's this rising up into this space where the ego mind loses its grip on your personality. We are fed and nourished by this higher energy that starts coming through, and all the cells in our body are nourished, and our mental belief systems shift. And so our identity shifts again. And the more we can hold that energy, the more likely, I'll speak for myself, the more likely I am to be able to stay present, experience my natural wholeness and goodness.
So there is a greater sense of presence when you connect with this higher aspect of yourself. It actually translates, one of its manifestations is to be more fully embodied in a way, or in presence.
More fully embodied is a great way to put it. More aware of both my internal life and that vertical connection to spirit grounding through me. Also more aware of the horizontal connection, the one you and I are sharing in resonance here, heart to heart.
Right.
So beautifully. And aware of this, I'm going to call it soul. I don't really have a better word. And it's this monadic fingerprint of who we are, unadorned by our personalities. So making friends with that soul.
And what is that? What are the qualities of that soul, as you put it, or that fingerprint? What are its qualities?
Well, we're each is unique. So like a fingerprint, it is your essence of your spark of source. I'll put it within you. That is your fingerprint of consciousness, totally unique. And then owning that means how valuable each soul is, because it has a unique perception, informing source, informing this much larger consciousness energy that is still evolving also. So each of us is so powerfully unique in our perception that the soul becomes the source of evolutionary information for source.
And would you say that you could call this bigger sense, this bigger, could you call it spirit, that's sort of behind even that, behind that fingerprint,
Yes.
that's informing that, that's evolving through that in a way, right?
Beautifully put. Yes, exactly. And spirit is exactly what I would call that. And it's, one of the interesting things that has come through in the past 9 years since this opening was the notion that spirit itself is still evolving. That, in fact, we're all one thing. We happen to be spirit in a body. And as we evolve, that allows spirit to evolve.
So it's sort of like it evolves through us, as us.
Yes.
As it comes through who we are.
Yes, and so in this dualistic form we have, it's really a both/and experience, both fully embodied as a human, firing on all chakras, and also fully connected to spirit. Both. This is a little different than what I learned in the Hindu philosophy around be the lotus in the muddy water, but be in the world, but not of it. This is be in the world and be of it, both and. And I find that to be a beautiful way to begin soul integration, to go, okay, we are all right where we are in this present moment, and that's fine.
And
bring spirit and physical manifestation together with this incredible opportunity we have called a life.
Right. Is this experience of being in, would you say it being in the world and of it?
Yes.
Is that ever a simultaneous experience? Or is
Yes.
that the idea that you would both be in the world and of it and also out of the world?
So, yes. So for instance, being an energy healer, that I'm going to call it an art form, in which the healer doesn't do the healing, in which the energy comes through that's called for the person who's requested the healing, and that the healer is a conduit. So at once physically present and yet out of the way of that energy to completely do its thing at the request of the soul being healed.
It sounds exactly like the Pentecost to me. That's in the second chapter of Acts, the apostles, where the Holy Spirit, starts to inform the apostles.
That's exactly right. And the Aion is the Holy Spirit, that energy. And at one point, all this was quite a shock to me when it all started happening. And I mean happening, like high energy, automatic writing, channeling, bringing these messages through that were fabulously rich in ancient wisdom and also humorous. And I was like, what? Have I been descended upon by the Holy Spirit? And what comes back is, well, do you feel descended upon? I'm like, well, no, I'm inspired. This is amazing. I know things I never knew I knew.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a matter of trusting the process, trusting the transformation, and this practice in this oscillation sense that we were discussing.
Yes.
Where you're at, hold energy, elevate your frequency, shift your perception. And the more we work with that, the more that becomes our new identity.
That becomes the new norm, doesn't it, at some point?
Yes, the new you, and your new normal.
And in that transformation, does the ego take sort of a back seat? Does the ego take more of a passive, because the ego's still there, does it take more of a passive role and let this other energy, is that what happened? Like to let this other energy of Aion or whatever lead?
So it's a choice we all make from breath to breath, and where we're putting our attention. For what's our intention, where we're putting our attention, and finally our retention of that experience. So yes, it's taken a while to build this very strong intention to stay in this dance, right? This oscillation between Stevie Ray personality and my higher self integrating. And does the ego make the choice? I don't think so. I think it's I who makes the choice. And then it's practice and commitment, right? And remembering.
So you feel it's the higher self that makes the choice as to
I do. And with a lot of, help from our friends in spirit. This is all that spirit does, is support us in this soul integration process. That's what we're here for from my perspective. And I get to choose that many, many times a day from my higher self.
So the practice is sort of returning to presence. I mean, returning to the awareness of that opportunity at every moment.
Again and again, with no shame or blame.
Yeah.
Because that's just another layer of ego and self-judgment.
Uh-huh.
And also, without seeing the ego, at least from my perspective, without seeing the ego as the enemy. If I didn't have an ego, I wouldn't know myself apart from a pile of mashed potatoes.
Right.
So it's this thing around enrolling and aligning the many voices, the many subpersonalities within us, including that egoic identity, on this vertical connection.
Uh-huh.
And that opens up the sixth sense, and it also opens up the seventh sense.
What's the seventh sense?
Aion talks about empathy and resonance as the seventh sense from the crown chakra, in that we become able to attune ourselves, right, to the unique frequency of the other person. And with great care and compassion and empathy, enter into their experience and feel it without it taking us off our own center.
Uh-huh.
So there's great care and compassion and well-wishing for the evolution of consciousness in the other.
So
It
this
begins to put the other before ourselves.
does this feel like a continuous process with you, like as you go through your day and evening? I mean, is this presence felt, like experienced? Is it informing your world like all the time? I mean, again, it has to do with your wakefulness, right? Your choice. But is like right now, this moment, where's how do you experience, if you do, Aion, the higher self at this moment?
It is always available to all of us all the
Right,
time.
right. But
It's
how do you?
really up
Yeah,
to us to be listening
sure.
and seeing and hearing and feeling. And so it's that retention piece, to remember,
Yes.
to reconnect and move into the higher amplitude of energy in your nervous system that supports higher perception.
Right.
So then we have this opportunity to keep reinforcing the new neuronal pathways and identify with our connection with spirit and ourselves as spirit. And so it's more this this oscillating dance, so that as we connect, then make that vertical connection more grounded and more powerful embodiment in the flesh. We have the opportunity to spend more time in practice in that area, in that higher frequency of the higher self.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And it's a practice. I still love beer and football, and I'm very present for the game.
So wouldn't it apply to that situation as well? I mean,
Yes.
be watching the game and
Mm-hmm.
beer and still try to connect, stay connected.
Yes,
So
exactly.
what about,
Until
yeah,
that becomes a more automatic response to our consciousness.
right. So great. Thank you. So this moment now, for instance, what is your consciousness? What is your awareness of this spirit at this moment? What is it like? Like Aion or this higher
So,
spirit? Yeah.
so I can describe this as I'm aware of the balls of my feet and my grounding cord
Uh-huh.
to earth below. I'm very aware of my root chakra, my heart chakra, and my crown chakra. And there's energy circulating
Uh-huh.
up the back and down the front. And the crown being connected above. So when that is my experience, when I'm present to that as I am in this moment, my eye shifts.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
My sense of self shifts.
And therefore, the greater I is speaking through
Yes.
Stevie Ray.
All right.
Now,
And you
that's
can frame it as the higher self, right?
whatever. Yeah. That's
Yeah, lots of
fascinating.
words
That's
for that.
fascinating. Now, would that be different fundamentally from if I ask you now, if I want to speak to Aion, would that be fundamentally different than allowing Aion to speak to you right now? Or would it be
No, it's the same thing.
same thing?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It has taken me these years to be able to, what do I want? So to be able to like stay in that open but out of the way state,
Uh-huh.
highly energized, and allow what wants to emerge to come through me. Um, and walk around
Yeah, right.
and teach in front of a room,
Yes.
or interact with you right now, for
Uh-huh.
instance.
Did it take time for you to be able to connect? Like, in other words, at the beginning, did it take longer for you to initially connect with the higher self, and then through practice you were able
Well,
to do it
once,
quicker?
no, actually, that connecting is so, I'll bring messages through each morning. I'll sit down with my laptop and my mug of coffee, and I'll type, "Good morning, Aion, please guide me," and it's right there.
I see. And
So
it's always
I'm
been like
not
that.
lighting candles or walking labyrinths, and
And it was,
just always available.
and that was always that way since
That's how
Aeon's
it
appearance.
started. Yes.
That's how it started.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
However, the energy was so big, my nervous system couldn't tolerate it. I couldn't open my eyes and do it
Uh-huh.
when I was starting to work with people and work with groups. I couldn't stand up. I basically was paralyzed
Uh-huh.
by the amplitude of the energy. I couldn't even lift my hands up off the arms of the chair.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so I've been working to, as you were calling it, fully embody spirit. If the Archangel Michael were to descend into your physical frame right now,
Burn your circuits out.
yeah, maybe not yours.
Well, I don't know.
So that's what we're after, is that higher angelic higher self fully residing in our physical form and in our nervous system.
So it
And
becomes
so it's
a
practice.
preparation, like a conditioning or a purification of the vessel, so to speak, that
Yes,
continually
right.
happens, right? In order for greater, higher frequencies to exist, to abide within one's body.
Well put. And the physics of it, and also the metaphysics of it, both are true,
Yeah.
is that it takes higher amplitudes of energy to support higher frequencies. So
Right.
if you want to support higher frequencies of perception, you have to train your nervous system and your emotional body and your mental body, as well as the physical, to hold higher amounts of aliveness, more higher amplitudes of kundalini energy or spirit energy.
Right. Now that I think would be a good place, although energetically it feels like we could go on for a long time. I would like to stop here, because I would really love to do another one with you at some time, and focus, next step, focus on frequency. Me as a musician, and consciousness and frequency, and how you experience that and what that means to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
Okay. Maybe we can do that. So thank you very much for taking time today. I know we took a while before we, connected. So this is great. Beautiful, Stevie. Thank you very much.
Well, it's great connecting with you in this presence. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. You're bringing a beautiful gift, Joe.
Well, thank you. You too. So for Presence Dialogues, my name is Joe Diamo, and I just finished a Presence Dialogue with Stevie Ray. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.